What's going on, guys? Today I bring you the Dave build. Make use of your entire arsenal to deal excellent damage from a distance. Get incredible fire rate so you can spew bullets quickly, and make use of the very fun quick draw skill that usually isn't great in apocalypse mode, but somehow we made it work. If you want to become a long-range spotter capable of distracting enemies with your guard dog and dealing with any situation, then you'll want to use this long shot Dave build. For your prime class, you'll want Handler. This grants us the prime perk of the dog reviving you if you go down. The downside to this is that the dog does need to be alive for him to get you back up, but even without a boost to health, he's usually ready to help out. And with this being on a cooldown of 90 seconds, you could potentially get revived multiple times in a single boss fight. Then you get the passive Pack Hunter, which increases your range and skill damage by 30%. This comes in play big time here, as we'll be relying on gun damage mostly, but we will have a skill from Gunslinger that can deal high amounts of crit damage. Do remember that taking a Relic heals your dog if he's damaged, allowing him to stay alive indefinitely if you attend to him when he's in trouble. As for the skill, you want Attack Dog. This one's pretty simple, as it provides a 20% increase to all damage for 20 seconds, buffing your dog, your skills, your mods, and your range damage all together. As for the subclass, you want Gunslinger, increasing your fire rate by 15%, range damage by 25%, and a plus of 5% crit chance. Now, the big reason to choose this class is that it greatly increases fire rate and reload speed. We'll be using a really powerful gun that unfortunately has an extremely terrible reload time. However, with the buffs here and from rings, we'll get it to be much more fluid in combat and not so painful to shoot. You're going to get much more ammo with this class, and taking a Relic buffs your range damage by 15% for 10 seconds, which means you can use a Relic to deal more damage and heal your dog at the same time. So don't be afraid to use them and be aggressive with your Relics. For the skill, you want Quick Draw. This rarely gets used in Apocalypse builds because both of Gunslinger's other skills outdamage it by miles. But since we're using Handler to buff skill and range damage, it actually works well for us here. Quick Draw is a very fast revolver that releases 6 shots in an instant. What's cool is that it always lands with critical damage, and if you hold the skill, it charges a single powerful shot that could deal over 3,000 damage, granting you an easy way to take out several enemies at once or target fire bosses over and over. With only 32 seconds of cooldown, it can be used often and is great as a backup when enemies get too close. As for armor, I wanted to look that said Western Dave. Dave just being hilarious as a powerful fighter with a basic name. Navigator's Helm, High Noon Duds, Red Widow Leggings, and Red Widow Bracers. This grants you a red look overall that roleplays as a sniper or long-range gunner. The High Noon chestplate also has one of the better looking capes in the game and covers the detached wire from our helmet, blending almost seamlessly. As for the Relic, you'll want to use the Pulsing Heart this time. This is my first build using this heart, and while it doesn't look amazing at first, it can be excellent in tougher fights. You take it, and for 15 seconds it pulses, healing 20 health. The pulse happens every 3 seconds, granting you 5 total spurts of 20 healing. What's cool is that this healing can be buffed to be a really nice chunk of health regen, and not only heal you, but your allies as well, making it great in co-op, but also nice for your dog, as he can take harder hitting attacks, and if you're near him, simply get filled back up to 100%. I also enjoyed this Pulsing Heart because we want to be aggressive with our heals. Granting more range damage on every use, we'll also get healed over time for 15 seconds. So in theory, you could take a Relic every 15 seconds for some synergetic and powerful gameplay. In reality, you'll need to watch this as you only have about 10 Relics, but overall, it feels fantastic with this setup. For the fragments, you want ranged crit damage, ranged crit chance, and weak spot damage. All 3 of these buff our guns, yes, but also greatly increase the power of Quick Draw when we charge it up, leading to high red numbers when you're able to get them. Your main gun will be the Alpha Omega. Now, we have used this guide before to create the ultimate mod spam build. Sadly, when you build into its mod, the gun itself is extremely terrible. So instead, we want to focus on the actual fire rate and reload speed of Alpha Omega. This gun's pretty cool because it's essentially a pulse rifle, charging up and firing several bullets at a time. With so many bullets thrown out, it can easily get crit hits and melts enemy health if you're shooting at weak spots. Also, having an incredible amount of ammo, you could spew it all day and from a really long distance. But what happens if enemies get close, you might ask? In that situation, you want to use its mod Beta Ray, shooting up to 3 rays that attach to the surface and explode when you reload or switch weapons. You can use this mod to quickly stun groups or delete a single target. And since the mod will regenerate gun ammo and mod energy on kills, you don't really need much mod regen to have the thing back several times over. Then we want to attach the Mutator Supercharger. This increases the charge speed of the gun by 30%, which is a massive amount that takes the gun from awful fire rate to really good fire rate. Getting bullets out quickly allows you to stun enemies in place. This mutator also increases your crit chance by 15% when it's at level 10, making it an excellent choice for more damage. For the melee option, you want the Krell Axe. I thought having a bit of shock damage couldn't hurt since we're going to increase all of our damage with one of our rings. Honestly, the Krell Axe is one of the best melee options, as it's extremely easy to use and can be switched to and from gunplay easily. Being able to throw the axe for a quick application of shock, it's always a solid bonus to any build. For the Mutator, you could realistically run anything, but I chose Shield Breaker as I really enjoy building up my own protective shield if I happen to get into some aggressive melee combat. Your sidearm will need to be Sure Shot, as it's one of the most long-range sidearms in Remnant 2. Very reliable gun that can hit over 1,000 damage with no buffs whatsoever. And since we're going to up our reload by a lot, you can instantly get out each bullet quickly, even in stressful situations. Also, it gets a larger weak spot bonus, making it good against certain bosses like Annihilation. As for the mod, I ran with Energy Wall. When becoming the ultimate long-range gunner, you won't be able to activate up-close mods, so instead, throwing down your own protective shield that lets you hide behind it with 0 damage taken is pretty darn nice. And since it will be on Sure Shot, it'll be more usable as the gun gets mod power back quickly. Energy Wall's definitely not for every single fight, but when there are projectiles, or more specifically lasers, involved, it can completely change the fight altogether. Then equip Slayer as the Mutator. This grants you 20% more damage for Sure Shot when you reload. Since you reload after every shot for this gun, it leads to 20% more damage all the time. And at level 10, it bumps your reload speed by 15%, which kicks the gun into action with some very quick high damage shots. When it comes to your trinkets, you want to increase fire rate and make it easy to deal high damage from afar. Gunslinger's Charm will increase fire rate by 15% and reload speed by 20%. The fire rate, of course, pairs well with Gunslinger, but that good bump in reload is key. Since Alpha Omega has a really bad reload, you can essentially fix it with just this amulet. Then you're reloading with every single shot from Sure Shot, which allows you to spam fire a sniper pistol. Archer's Crest increases projectile speed by 20% and decreases weapon charge time by 25%. Less charge time is key for any weapon that needs to build up, as it really increases your reaction time to enemy actions and better allows you to punish staggers and enemy weak spots. Fey Hunter Ring increases firearm range by 30%. Now, I tested this, and even with as much range as possible, it was still noticeable when the damage started to drop off. This ring fixes that and lets you shoot almost as far as you want to, and never drop in damage due to range. Excellent in boss fights, as almost every arena is sizable to where you'll never lose damage. Probability Cord increases crit damage by 30%, which buffs our gun's crit hits, but also remember we have Quick Draw that only crits, so this one ring massively buffs that skill. Lastly, we have the Stone of Balance that buffs all damage by 7%. When in certain boss fights like Shahala, it's definitely going to be better to run with Zania's Malice for highest damage possible, but I noticed in general play, the Stone of Balance felt right, helping your mod pack a punch, buffing gun damage, and improving your dog and quick draw overall. Not often a good choice, but for this balanced type of playstyle, I think it's the perfect option. When looking at traits, we want as much range as we can get with lots of ammo. Ammo reserves greatly increases your ammo and ensures you'll never run out. Kinship reduces friendly fire and is a good thing to have when running co-op if you ever happen to do so. Longshot grants 600 extra weapon range bonus, being the best increase to range we'll ever have. Triage improves healing effectiveness by 50%, which prevents our Relic from doing almost nothing. Vigor grants you the health you need, and Endurance grants you the stamina to dodge and run properly. Expertise will be there for your skills to come back sooner, especially important with that quick draw skill. Footwork is great to have as it increases aim movement speed. When firing loads of bullets constantly, this is one of the best options, granting you the ability to strafe to avoid damage. Lastly, we have Glutton for increased relic use speed. Since we need our relics for a good amount of damage boost, we don't want to take forever getting the buff in between boss phases. Overall, you have fast-paced combat that can be effective from very long range. For your consumable, you want Tranquility Font. This reduces reticle sway, spread, and recoil by 35%. Alpha Omega does tend to move off target easily, and this prevents it from moving hardly at all while you fire round after round. Excellent for long range since it's easier to miss from a distance. As with most builds, we like to have a good setup that's simple to use. With Dave here, you want to keep your distance. Fire thousands of rounds into anything that moves while at the safety of about 30 yards. If things do get close, you have the dog to distract them and quick draw to instantly drop them. The Relic's going to let you heal even during damage taken if you have it active beforehand, and is pretty handy on healing the dog. In boss fights, your goal is to aim for a weak spot and fire away, switching to sure shot when you need to reload and casting attack dog as often as possible. This build isn't going to put out thousands of damage in seconds like the best DPS builds, but it's very versatile with all your damage being good and quick draw doing tons of damage. I'd consider this a very fun build, and especially good if you like to play safer and send your dog out to scout ahead. Hopefully you did enjoy the long shot Dave build, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like down below. I always liked Alpha Omega, but it's really bad all by itself with a slow fire rate and kinda sad reload speed. This lets you get it up and running for high damage and smooth gameplay. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you next time.